Hi, everybody. This is 933 days. 933 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Let me see if I can get this closer. Okay. And he didn't just vanish, something happened. And the big thing that happened is foul play. There's been absolutely numerous crimes committed against Richard, against Team Five Richard Halliday, um, and it really even looks like murder. Okay, so I remember the day that my husband called and found out that Richard was missing because the Army didn't contact us, and I called. We just called everybody, and I called our eldest son Robert, and he was like, "Hi, Mom," and I said, "Robert, I have such bad news. Richard is missing." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "He's missing, and I think he's in a ditch dead somewhere." That was day 36. So, because when I found out, when we found out, 36 days had gone by and his command never contacted us. I can't even tell you. Um, really, really evil, very cold blooded. Because you have to understand what was going on at the time in the military. This was COVID, y'all. This was COVID. This was total chaos. Two of my son-in-laws lost jobs, one right away. Um, and I was walking around our neighborhood with my grandson. Oh, every day I would walk around the neighborhood, and I was just praising God and thanking God that Richard was in the military, that he had a job, that he was being looked after. Can you believe it? And all that while, it was a complete opposite. He was the one that I needed to worry about. Um, they were in FTXs, which is field training exercises. I did not know why. Why wasn't he responding? Our rule was that he would have to call for sure every 2 weeks, and he was really good at that. Okay, he was really good. Now Robert, he'd get busy and do things, and I'd call him and I'd say, "Why didn't you call me?" "Oh yeah, Mom, I got busy." Um, but Richard was really good, and so we're not huge. Well, now we are. Now we've become huge texters because of Richard, but before that, we weren't really big phone people. I did things for McGuffey's Online Tutor, um, for my family, to let people know in the family to keep in touch, and that you can look, it's all on there. The CID absolutely did. They absolutely combed our sites. Um, they combed our sites, but they did not contact us. Think about that one. And yeah, so from the very beginning, I have believed that Richard was murdered. But um, I tried to trust the process. You know how they say, trust the process? Um, no, I don't think so. I don't think so anymore. 933 days. I did get in touch with a PI given to us by a TRADOC Sergeant Major, Hardy Hay, who I believe, this is my opinion, was up to no good. Okay? I think the asymmetric warfare group the TRADOC group, the FBI's are all up to no good. The CID, up to no good. Absolutely, the 44 four-star generals and admirals, absolutely the biggest criminals ever, and still up to no good. And so at this time, that has definitely been proven to us as true. So, yeah, that we have been left defenseless by our military leadership, and they are serving foreign and domestic enemies, which was very clear at the State of the Union. That really gave me the creeps. It just really gave me the creeps when I saw that interaction. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But this is what I think. I think that the FBI were looking for the remains of Richard in Juarez, Mexico. They found him. It might be pieces of him. I don't know. And I think that they are hiding the remains of our son, hiding the truth of what happened to Richard, because it is foul play. And that is why I've been talking about starting yesterday, and thinking about it, the death penalty. And it really occurred to me when the Army leadership that are just absolute demons. I mean, they are so bad. The Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of the Army, all those in the Pentagon that are wearing our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars are absolutely the biggest criminals historically. I don't know how they're going to get by. I really don't. I don't know how. Their blood is turned cold. That's how they can smirk and whatever they're doing. I don't know. Creepy, very creepy. But they absolutely plea dealed with these 2 murderers to protect the brand, to protect, I guess, the brand. Thank you. And the bell tolls on that one. So I'm going to show you in the case of Austin Hawke. When that happened, it took me a few days and, of course, discussions with others to realize what was going on. To realize that the 44 4-star billets, those criminals that are wearing our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars, have just kicked every service member right in the teeth, right in the gut. Added fuel to the criminal fire, the wicked murdering fire, the PTSD, anything going wrong, the suicide, the rapes, the human trafficking, the porn cults, the child sex trafficking. They just gave a green light to it all. That's what that meant. That they were giving a green light to every criminal. And it made me really think, what in the world? This is our military, and it has been hijacked, and it is being used against us. It is being weaponized against us at our own expense, okay, on our dime. What a great business plan, right? What a great business plan. These foreign and domestic enemies, they get the full use of our unbelievable military, trillion-dollar military with its Saddaloons, y'all. Make sure you know that. Saddaloons, that's coming out, which I'll talk about right now too, with our stealth bombers, with our submarines, with our bombs, with our missiles, with our tanks, with everything, with our volunteer sons and daughters, our most valuable asset, right? Um, all of that is being used by foreign and domestic enemies at our expense, weaponized against us. Absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind. Not a doubt. So, yeah, so that's why I started thinking about the death penalty. And, I voted for Ron Paul. Ron Paul was saying that our government is so corrupt and so evil that we can't have the death penalty because it would never be godly. They would use it um, to kill masses of innocent people. Okay, that's why he's against the death penalty. Um, I don't know if I agree with him because no matter what, because they're lawless, they don't care what's on the books. They order the death of the unawares, the multitudes, anyway. Anyway, they can kill businesses. They can kill animals. Look at the culling of animals for what? For profit, because they don't want to be held accountable for their products, right? They don't want to be liable. So it's become very, very clear. This whole virus thing, over 100 years old, they're telling us that viruses exist, and we absolutely have more than enough evidence. And I posted it today on Telegram. It's not me. Y'all, it is not me. It is so easy to find. It is so easy to find right now. It's always been easy to find, but not in the mainstream controlled media. You have to go to alternative media and alternative discussion groups to hear it all be discussed in roundtables through Zoom or through Discord or other platforms. And when you sit there and you listen to these discussions and you read the reports, and especially Christine Massey, she deserves Medal of Honor medal. She deserves the I don't know what award is out there. Please tell me that we could give to this woman that decided, okay, this SARS-CoV virus or whatever, let's see if they've isolated it, if they've conducted Cox postulates to see if it is indeed what they say it is, and contagious, and viciously contagious, that we have to stop the whole world's economy, those countries that went along with this, and destroy lives and destroy just so much mental, and it's just so destructive. It's worse than any atomic bomb. Okay. And so she was like, let's see if they isolated, if they purified it. Okay. Because when you read through her articles, the word isolated gets a little smudged, it gets a little, they play with that narrative. They play with that definition a bit. And so she's like, did you purify this virus? And the answer was no. Resounding from that no one could give it to her. And it was from all kinds of labs and universities all around the world. And then she goes, well, let me go a step further. Do you have any purified virus? Any? It could be rabies. It could be chickenpox. It could be anything. And the answer came back, no. Was Cox postulates performed on any of these viruses? The answer, no. And because it's so dangerous, because we're talking about billions of dollars of giddy giddy people making all this money off of the destruction of the unawares, of the innocent masses, right? And innocent in far that they believe, uh, the science. And they question, then what, someone just died, they got sick. Yeah. Just like all of those cows in England that were cold, they got sick. What did they get sick from? What did they feed them? What kind of injections did they give them? What kind of fertilizer was put on their feed? I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's so much that we need to ask, that we need to find out. But we know for sure that if they cannot deliver one purified virus, viruses don't exist. And I put it up on the Telegram for you to look at all the different lists. You can see it. It's on Find Richard Halliday Telegram. I'll see if I can put it up on Facebook. And it's being allowed to stay up there. And I'm talking about it openly, like, I have the right with the First Amendment to speak about this openly. And people have said, what does this have to do with Richard? What does this have to do with Richard? Because when Richard went missing, it was 2020. And one thing that was very clear is that if the military wanted to lock hills together to get something accomplished, something done, they could do it. And they did it. They did it with the COVID stuff. They got it out there, and they clicked those hills together, and they ordered it. And now they still have these stealth orders, right? This what is it called? The secret orders. I covered it yesterday. The shadow policies. Absolutely, these shadow policies. And here we are, with Vanessa Guillen, Enrique Roman Martinez, Austin Hawk, Caleb Smither, Gregory Morales, many more. I mean, Fort Bragg was a total mess with murders and everything. And then Asia Graham. In the middle of all of that, one failed program after the other. Failed program with PTSD. Failed program with suicide. Failed program with rape prevention, sexual harassment prevention. Failed program. No, what they do is they make the barracks co-ed. 9-1, 9 men to 1 woman. In the Marines, it's 400-1. So the woman is forced to do body count, I heard. Body count, yeah. Body count or be raped. And if you're raped, oh, shut up. Just shut up. And then there's more with the sex cults and the doggy sex cults and all of this coercive. You have to give up your faith, your belief, and you have to embrace this porn, this culture, this sex cult, this that supports child sex trafficking. And this is what we realized during the COVID mess, is that we had absolute insane criminality going on, and the response was all failure except for lockstepping to the COVID mandates. And I'm really grateful for the COVID insanity for one reason, and that is that it did show that the 4-star billets have power. These 44 4-star demons do have power in our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars. And they could get it done. And they could, if they wanted to, answer every question professionally and on record with the signatures, because they did a lot of that with the COVID stuff. And I'm saying, look, you will commit these crimes against humanity when I know that there are real questions if this even exists. And now we're finding out through the work of many, not just Christine Massey, but many, that virology is dead. And it never exists. It never was alive. It's always been a hoodwink. It's always been a very, very profitable business plan with little liability. Now, virtually no liability. And so this has everything to do with Richard, because it shows that the demons wearing our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars on them have been derelict, have been negligent, have committed treason, are traitors, and are serving foreign and domestic enemies instead of honoring their duty, honoring their obligation, and morally their obligation to care for our service members and also defend our Constitution, and to develop a army ready or a military ready with esprit de corps, with the Medal of Honor ethos throughout, a military that is very, very capable and ready. They have failed to do it. They've created a sick, a very sick military. And our military right now has about 1,300,000 service members in it, about that. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And we have 44 demons wearing those beautiful uniforms with 4 stars on it. What does that mean? We give them everything. They have huge benefits and staffs. And they have the vehicles, the drivers, the helicopters, the planes, the pilots. They have everything. And they have the entire military, all of the bombs, all the equipment, the submarines, you name it, at their fingertips, y'all. They're very powerful. And they are in Virginia. The Pentagon is in Virginia, not in D.C. And so they have left our government defenseless. And that has created a ripple effect of corruption within Washington, D.C. because it is defenseless. They have to go to whatever mob will defend them and pay for their reelection. It has become one big criminal syndicate, collaboration, like a spaghetti bowl of criminal syndicates. And, maybe they all lead to one place. I don't know. I don't know where they lead, but I know it's foreign and domestic enemies on our dime with our most valuable assets, our volunteer sons and daughters. And Steve Bannon said something today that I want to play. So let me put this on. And here it is. Let me go to Steve Bannon first. I think it was up here. Okay, here it is. Listen in.
Daughters of the New York Times. By the way, of the Brookings Institute leadership, how many of your sons and daughters are there? Of the Atlantic Council, how many of your sons and daughters are there? Of the New York Times, how many of your sons and daughters are there? Let's go back to Iraq and Afghanistan. What is it, 8,000 in uniform? And you count the contractors. You got to count the contractors because they're just Navy SEALs and Special Forces and other folks that, got off the payroll, didn't want to give the benefits, still paid them another 15,000 in Afghanistan alone. I don't know. 30, 40,000 dead Americans in those 2 wars? How many sons and daughters are the wealthy? How many? Some. but a small amount. They want the benefits of it. They want to talk all the talk, but they will never walk the walk. They want you to walk the walk. So now you pay for it. It's your taxes. It's your pension funds that are paying for this. You're paying for it. You're the full faith and credit of the United States. You're paying for it. It's your treasure. And it's also your blood. So don't you get a say-so in this, or we're just going to glide into this? Remember, FDR looked the nation in the eye in 1940 against Wendell Willkie, and he swore that American boys and girls would not go and fight another war in Europe. Another war in Europe, because the bitter aftertaste of World War I, and remember, it was you. American Lao Beijing are what told Wilson and these globalists, hey, we don't want any part of any League of Nations. It's engineered. We don't want it. That's their deal. We left there to come to this primordial wilderness and to start to build the greatest nation on earth. We're fully occupied. We got a gig. We got a job. We've been kicked out of every quote-unquote decent nation in Europe and other places. And we're going to build it here. Okay? Leave us alone. And I'm not an isolationist, but I'm also not a frickin' idealist. And this is the road to perdition.
Yeah, and he's talking about this escalation of narrative with Russia, okay, with Russia. And, you know, Team 5 Richard Halliday, the Halliday family, the Schnabel family, the Harrison family, the Jong family, we absolutely know a little bit about Russia because my parents lived there for 9 years. They worked in the American Embassy right there in Moscow. My dad was there when the Iron Curtain came down. My dad was there. My mother was visiting us in Germany. We were stationed in Germany at the time, and my dad was there. He saw Yeltsin go into the White House, their White House. He saw that whole thing. Yeah, so we do know some things about Russia, and the narratives are not true. And so that leads me to that's our military right there, y'all. That is our military. Yeah. And this guy here, I believe it was this guy here. Yeah, he was showing his erection in uniform on our military installations, in our military buildings, the gym. It looked like the gym. What in the world? Why is that not in the news? Why do we have stuff like this? Why do we have stuff like this? This gives me the biggest... It's so creepy. I can't even tell you. They are so disconnected with our service members. They are so creepy. Look at General McConville there. He is so creepy in this. I'm sorry. Anyway, I don't know if y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Here we have, okay, yeah. I've put that up several times because we do have a bloated military. We are so top heavy, and you know, so it needs to change. And I don't know who is going to have that kind of look at this mess there. See, war and the weapons that we have today are not. Pray for those in Turkey, okay? Pray for those in Turkey. Just terrible. Here is military knows it's taking orders from an illegitimate government. Yeah. So they work. This whole discussion here, you can go to find Richard Halliday on Telegram, is where it's what I'm saying. And I'm not the only one. And it didn't come from me. It's me just reporting what I'm hearing, that the 44 four-star generals and admirals are serving foreign and domestic enemies for foreign ideology, not for our service members. They've hijacked our service members, and they use the tools that we have entrusted to them and pay them for as weapons. They've weaponized their tools against the service members, and they are retaliating severely and continuously against our service members. That is so clear in Find Richard Halliday, because it was so confusing to me. Um, it was so confusing to me when I saw everything that was done to Richard, because they were smearing Richard, and I didn't see any evidence of what they were accusing him of. And even Captain Park, oh, and I should bring that up. I'm going to be talking about Captain Park tomorrow. I really need to. I'm going to write that down to bring up um, the information, that the letter that Captain Park sent me. Okay. And what he had to say in it. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much, Captain David Park, a West Pointer who's up to no good. But God uses all people, right? And in that up to no good letter, it gave us some really good insight into what's going on. And it did clear Richard, because they had nothing. They had nothing. Richard was even in the hospital for a while, and everything they were accusing him of, when you put together the timeline, we have a huge, right in front of me, a huge calendar, the whole timeline, and with the FTXs, which is the field training exercises, with his hospital stay, with the deployment, with other things going on. There were very, very narrow windows for anything to happen, and absolutely no way he could have ever even done the things that they were smearing him about from the military police guard mount. And so it was confusing to us. I was like, you have nothing. You would have to have a paper trail. I'm an educator. If I have an unruly student, if I have problems with a student, if I have a learning disabled student, I have to create a diary. I have to create a paper trail for this student, for any of my recommendations that I may have for this student to the parents. And in the military, $1 trillion military, that has bloated leadership, so many, and I should bring that up. The amount, I think it was in this one. Yeah, this one right here. This was a really good article. Let's see if I can move this over a bit. So turn this on. Yeah, here it was. Okay, yeah. There are approximately 900 active duty general and flag officers today of 1.3 million troops. This is a ratio of one general or flag officer for every 1,400 troops. Well, during World War II, an admittedly different era, there were more than 2,000 general officers or flag officers for a little more than 12 million, and some say 13 million when you add the women to it, active duty troops. That is 1 to 6. So you have a ratio that is 1 to 6,000. So you have a ratio of 1 to 1,400 troops, and then when you're in World War II, 1 to 6,000. Okay, so let me say that one more time. You have the ratio difference of one flag officer or general officer, flag officer, to every 1,400 troops right now. Okay, they should be just the most awesome, cared for service members ever. We are so top heavy because in World War II, there was only one general officer or flag officer to 6,000. Okay? And so, and you're talking about World War II when you really needed them all on board. So it tells you it's very interesting because we have a retention problem, we have a recruiting problem, and it tells you that even this top heavy one general officer, 44 four-star generals in World War II, 7, and you have 1.3 million now with 44 four-star generals and admirals. And during World War II, you had 12 to 13 million service members to 7 four-star billets. I mean, wow, that's a huge difference. That's what I'm talking about. And we have a problem with retention. We have a problem with suicides. We have a problem with recruiting. We have a problem with rape and sexual harassment. We have a problem with sex cults and porn. We have a problem with PTSD. And everything has a program with a general officer, Major General Clem Coward's in charge of rape. I kid you not. I kid you not. Why? Because we're so top heavy, and I don't know. I'd like to have some answers when it came to that. Why he's in charge, but it's a failed program. 20 years of failure. You see? Oh, just shut up. That's what Asia Graham was told. That's their program. Oh, just shut up. Keep a body count. Keep a body count. Yeah, and if you're in the Marines, 1 to 400, keep a body count. It's what I've been hearing. It's absolutely disgraceful. So, and this is with a top heavy, bloated leadership. And we can't get answers for where Richard is when we have gotten answers on our own. We're the ones that found the father-in-law, who happens to be a Palestinian, and by all accounts, if you're using your logic, he's an FBI informant and says that he's with the FBI and that the FBI found Richard in Juarez, Mexico, and is dead. And then we don't have words of that, and we're like, well, who is this guy, right? Who is this guy? Because we only knew him as the Dollar General man. And know that you think the FBI would say, we need to meet. We need to tell you this is the father-in-law of the Lieutenant Colonel Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, your son's command. And yeah, and the FBI have been looking for Richard. We found that out from the State Department. We called right away, and he told us, yeah, they were here looking for Richard in Juarez, Mexico. And he proceeded to tell us the areas. I can tell you the areas where they were looking for Richard's remains. His remains. All right. And so that's back in October. That's the end of September 2020 and the beginning of October 2020. Okay, so this is October 2020, and they're looking for Richard's remains. And father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado, who's with the FBI, that means he's an FBI informant, is saying that they found Richard. So are they hiding him? Are they hiding his remains from us? Why can't we get answers? Why did we have to find that out? Because they never met with us and told us any of that. We had to call the State Department. The FBI just flicked us. Oh, he's not a special agent. You think the CID would have brought us in? You think the Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe would care enough to say, come on, we need to talk? We need to talk. No. They are absolute criminals. Absolute criminals. And so I'm very happy to see that Representative Jordan notices that we have a top-heavy, bloated military leadership that are serving foreign and domestic. I hope he knows. I think he knows that they're serving foreign and domestic enemies on our dime and destroying our country, destroying many countries, not just our country. You understand that, right? Because yeah. I posted Mike Lindell up here if you want to listen to it, because he has a positive message. This is also very interesting. Here, this mapping. Please take a look at it. This is El Paso. This is Juarez, right? We have been told that Richard was taken here through this Santa Teresa port of entry, driven down this road and over here, and was dumped along this road. Okay? His dead body was dumped. His remains. This is separate from the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado, okay, of the G3. This is a separate, and I'll get into that. And this is kilometer 2930. Kilometer 30, it was the original. And take a look at all of this going on here, because we also were told it's this truck with shaved handles, a lowrider, parked in front of Farnsworth Racing. So Farnsworth Racing is a horse racing, horse breeding Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Why am I saying that? Because many people that are part of this case, my son's case, that not in a good way at all, are Mormons. And, that's kind of shocking, because do Mormons have, a bad rap? And that's why we would really, and this area here, if you go further down into Mexico, not this map here, but if you went further down this road and a little bit west, you would hit Colonial Juarez, where Mitt Romney's father was born, one of the founders of that very beautiful, very lush, they have two on this side of the border here. They have two Mormon temples that are beautiful, lush, no expense was spared, and they have orchards and ranches and farms and everything, and they have their P.O. boxes addresses over on this side of the border in New Mexico and Texas. Sorry, y'all. And it's like, okay, then why, if they know this area so well and they're doing their horse racing back and forth, their horse training back and forth, they're breeding back and forth, and people are working back and forth through that border, And they have all of the connections, and I'm sure they have connections everywhere over there to have these huge businesses. I mean, they have all kinds of vegetable businesses and their school. They have a school over there that is a boarding school. I mean, it's huge. Then why can't they help us? Because Mormons are involved in this case in a very not good way, not good way at all. So that's important. Here I have this Saddaloon up, um, and I put Find Richard Halliday on this one that was shot down, this picture. But you have to understand, we have been lied to for 100 years or more about virology. Okay? We have been lied to for a long time about the moon. The moon is not a rock. Okay? We don't know what the moon is. The moon is amazing. It's a mystery, but we do know that it is not a rock. Okay? Go look at it. Go take pictures. I've been looking. I'm 100% sure that the moon, its phases, it's more like a plasma. It's not a rock. Okay? So, what is it? We need to look in that. People get sick. What is it? We know it's not a virus. Okay? Because it, they, it's like in silico, right? It's like in silico. It's like in a game. It's like in the Matrix. You are led to believe this through so much propaganda and so much education that you think it's reality, and it's not reality, and it's so shocking. And when this balloon thing went up, and I need to find another video that is really really awesome video of years ago when they were shooting the rockets up there to release these balloons through rockets. And the balloons fly at very high altitudes, way over any military plane. And that's why this is so important. Let me see. Makes it too big. Um, yeah. This, I need to learn how to do this a little bit better. But this is so important to understand that these balloons fly at very, very, very high altitudes. And they are satellites, y'all. They're satelloons. Okay? That's a, and there's so much evidence out there for that. Please go and do your homework on that, and do not be misled with all of this talk about um, maybe I need to go way down. No, I think that's all I did. But don't be misled about these balloons, and they're trying to I don't know, make us afraid that we're going to be invaded or whatever. Yeah, go get some chat groups in alternative media, and um, there's a lot of good ones, a lot of good ones, and think really clear. Uh, one, oh, and I don't have it in front of me. Um, Alex Gleason's book about this map that's behind me. Let's see if I can turn it a little bit. This map right here um, has been taken down off of archive.org. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's just such an innocent book, 1890. But there that had some really great information about what the moon is, what the sun is, um, just all about the calendar, chronology, biblical chronology, which was absolutely amazing. Um, so we there is still censorship going on, and the censorship, the shadow banning, the shadow policies, the FBI attack on, let me see if I can find that, because that was yesterday, that they were absolutely attacking Catholics, I would say a whistleblower sounds alarm that the FBI is criminalizing Christianity. Um, so, yeah, here is where you can find um, uh, a friend of mine sent me this text. I have not watched all of it yet or anything yet, but here is this list. So I think I've watched these. They're amazing. They're amazing. And they've been out for a while. So, you know, because the trust has broken down, because we have so much corruption and we've become a criminal syndicate in our agencies, um, you cannot not do your homework. It's kind of what Steve Bannon was saying. We cannot just sit aside and let this roll over us. We are going to have to stand up, and that's why I was looking at the death penalty. We're going to have to stand up for what is right and bring back our country and let our representatives know where we stand. And um, we need to start, of course, with the military, with the elections. Absolutely, I agree with that. And this plot to criminalize Christianity is just one more X on us. I've known that it's been an X even on Richard because of the way they responded to us about Richard from the very beginning. It was like, okay, so you have something against Richard because he's a Christian. You have something against our family because we're a Christian. Um, it was not said. Um, you just know that if you have questions about COVID, if you are a holy apostolic Catholic Christian believing in the Nicene Creed and the Apostles' Creed and a missal, we go by the Book of Common Prayer, which is absolutely so valuable. And in Gleason's book, you realize how valuable it is to have a missal, to have a Book of Common Prayer, to have that kind of liturgy, to have that kind of order in your worship service. Um, if you believe in the Athanasius Creed, if you believe in the Trinity, right? Um, and you say, look, to the enemy, you might have power, but you do not have dominion. God has dominion. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost has dominion, not you. You might have power, but you don't have dominion. You don't have the promises. You don't have the victory at all. And this gets them very, very angry. And this is the one in the many. This is the premise of our faith. And that's why the Catholic Christians have been targeted. And not with this, it's a very confusing issue because you see what's going on at the Vatican and everything. But so I'm just saying, have mercy. Have mercy on those that are being attacked. Do not believe the narratives. It's kind of like what's going on with Richard. These false narratives and then the leaks. The leaks to sabotage, the leaks to do damage because there's infiltration. So we've had the FBI informant infiltration. We've had the leaks. We knew that. We knew that with Hema Sochil, Richard's first sergeant's wife, who we didn't even know who she was. We're like, who's this woman, Hema Sochil? And she turns out to be First Sergeant Michael Ruggiero's wife. And we're like, what? Where did she get this information? Is she married to someone in the CID? No. We had to find out ourselves who she was, which, so the support, the lack of support, I cannot, And they go, well, it's an investigation. But then we get a phone call. I want to come to South Carolina and visit you, says the Lieutenant General, Sean Bernabe, and I want to show you a video. And I'm like, okay, we already had the video. We already had the video that he wanted to show. But I'm like, I thought this was an investigation. You wanted to come and hurt us. But we already have the video where Richard is so sad because he was trying to protect this young mother, and and he was powerless to help her. He was powerless to help her. So the human trafficking, the child sex trafficking, the drug industry, the marketplace of illegal drugs in the barracks, the criminal industry, he realized was winning. And it's a very sad video because he's just, he fears for his life. He fears for his life. And I was so sad for him. And so let's look at the death penalty. Do these leaders deserve the death penalty that they are proclaiming on others? Let's kill this investigation. Let's put it in cold case. Let's not worry about these deaths. They never wanted to find Vanessa Guillen. Okay. We don't care about the rapes. We don't care about the suicide rate being so high, the PTSD, all the medication that causes even worse problems. So hard to get off, y'all. So hard to get off. These poor people, these poor service members, and family members. I cannot tell you the stories that I've heard. It's so sad. And, no wonder the retention is so low. And then now they want to get us into a war, just let us sleepwalk right into this war with Russia. Is that a death sentence? I think what Rushduni has to say is, if we're merciful to murderers, then we're merciless to the rapists, and to the victims. We're merciless then to the victims of these crimes and the future victims of these crimes and these criminals. And I think it needs to be put back on the table. Good discussion, because these crimes are so big. They are so big. Why did we have to find out these answers? Find out the vile and vulgar phone messages that we were getting on our hotline? Why did we have to take the time out to trace these phone messages that we gave to the CID? Right? We were saying, why couldn't they tell us? But no, we learned how to trace them, and one of them goes to a very, 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 very important government building. And but it's been crickets. It's been crickets to come back. Why do we have to do all of this? Richard is not a cold case. We have everything. We even have the name of who we suspect is the murderer. We know that the special agent, Tavita Nusa, who leaked files to Leilani Hart, one being Richard's file, is now, we have found out, has done more. And it's not good. So what is sabotaging the search for a missing soldier? sabotaging the truth of what has been found out, um, so that the parents, the family, doesn't get the information. I think it's criminal. Also, sending a senior leader, because there's so many of them, to the military police guard mount right there at Fort Bliss and groundlessly smearing Richard, um, that's so criminal, y'all. You have a missing soldier and you're smearing them. I mean, just red flags went everywhere. And you have to remember that Leilani Hart, Dallas Hart, um, Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz, Richard, they all served under Major General Clem Coward. Asia Graham, Clem Coward. I think he has a lot of explaining to do. Why are they protecting him? Why hasn't he written us a letter? Right? How deep is his involvement in this? Because he smoked Richard. He totally went out to his way to hurt Richard was with this permanent Gomar. And where's the paper trail? Why? Why? Show us the proof that you had every right to give Richard, that this was a just Gomar. We haven't found it anywhere. So when Richard went over and above and outside of your chain of command to report child sex trafficking violations to the Child Protective Services, which we've had our FOIAs in and we can't get any help. Yeah. Did you decide to smoke them? How deep is your involvement in all of this? Because we know the porn is so bad. We know the porn cults, the doggy cults that like to rear puppies, meaning our beautiful volunteer sons and daughters, and you want to groom them to rear them into these sick, coercive cults. It's satanic. Yeah. And no wonder Christianity is being attacked. No wonder. I put up a prayer here. The Lord be with you and with thy spirit. Let us pray. Our Lord and our God, we give thanks unto thee, that in Jesus Christ thou hast called us to life, that in him we have life, and that more abundantly. And we pray, our Father, that in these troubled times, when the foundations of society are founded on death, grounded on a suicidal course, thou wouldest make us strong in terms of Jesus Christ and his law word, that we may reestablish men and nations on thee, that they may live and know thee to be the only true God. Bless us to the purpose, we beseech thee, in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Here is my some quotes I put up in favor of the death penalty. Because if we let these murderers continue to murder, even if we just put them in prison, we see that something can happen and then all the prison doors are open. I think that we need to really have this discussion of what God wants us to do. And I'm glad that that's open. And I don't know if I'm right on this right now because our government is so criminal. I don't know. So I just think that it is something that we need to have a discussion about if we need to really put the death penalty on the table for these treasonous traitors on our time, right? And um, you know, I'm not the one that makes a decision. I'm just I'm just a mom thinking, oh my gosh, what did they do to my son? Um, where is Richard, right? And why are our volunteer sons and daughters so disposable to them? Because does General McConville, or, I mean, yeah, why do they not value life? They just hop into these wars. They value those contracts so much more. And those 44 four-star billets. So, yeah, so I think we need that discussion because there's too much death. There's too much child sex trafficking, human trafficking, too much death from fentanyl, too much death because there's the marketplace for illegal drugs right there. Asia Graham died from a fentanyl laced medication. Okay. Um, Austin Hawke died because of the marketplace for illegal drugs on Fort Stewart. Enrique Roman Martinez, absolutely, I'm convinced. But who am I? He's in cold case. Was a victim of illegal drugs. The Not that I don't think he had it, but what was going on? This marketplace, this this lack of discipline, this lack of esprit de corps, this lack of the Medal of Honor ethos, no soldier left behind. Um, yeah, and then you have Vanessa Guillen whistleblowing for the sexual assault, the sexual harassment. Um, there is a pattern here of negligence and dereliction and crime, and you know um, the SOPs not being followed. The standard operating procedures for the barracks has not been followed. Why? We have 44 four-star billets. They should be able to handle it. So yeah, I get really frustrated, and it screams clearly that they are not doing their duty. And so then what are they doing? They're servicing foreign and domestic enemies rather than defending our Constitution. And we're in big trouble when our military has left us defenseless, because there's no kingdom without knights. There's no kingdom without a king with a military, right? It's one of my favorite movies is the original Seven Samurai, where this Japanese little town is left defenseless from these bandits, and they hire the Seven Samurai. Well, they win. They win at a great price, and it gives me the chills because we have been left defenseless. We have, just like those farmers, we have tools, we have money, we have the know-how and all of that, but we're not warrior. We need a defense. We don't know how to guard against these bandits, these extortionists, these people that are up to no good, that come through on these horses and raid and rape and So I don't know if you've seen this black and white movie, but it's one of the greatest movies. So Richard watched it. Richard watched it, and of course, there's been remakes, but there's nothing like the original. It's just absolutely fantastic movie. So thank you everyone for coming on and Give me your thoughts about the death penalty. If these traitors, does treason deserve the death penalty? Because not only is it our country that lives are being lost, lives are being damaged. It's not only in the military that crimes against humanity has been perpetrated, but it's the DOD, the Department of Defense, that contracted on our dime CVS, the likes of CVS and Walgreens, to perpetrate even a larger scope of crimes against humanity. And then who knows what their influence was in other countries, because America is in the military. The Department of Defense has its claws on many other countries. And I say claws because their demons, they've hijacked our military, and they are representing the United States as demons. And it's really giving us a bad name. It's really hurting our economy, our stand in the world. And so this is treason. This is being a traitor. This is being murderers. This is being legalized murderers. And so I think that we need to talk about what's the next step, because we don't see results in Washington, D.C. Why? Because they have no defense. So how are we going to get them a defense? What are our recourses? And yeah, geez, we need some smart people. We need some real smart people. So, and I think it's, yeah. And it's going to be the retrenching, the exposure of the crimes being committed that is going to let the files out that tell us what happened to our son. Okay, that let the service members that do know something not be so afraid of the retaliation. We need to get rid of that fear of retaliation so that the service members can tell us what happened to our son, right? So I think so. I think just keeping Richard's name out there, spreading it out there, asking these questions, telling the story about the father-in-law. That's a really big one. Is the FBI hiding the remains of our son? Telling the story of the dogs. Oh, and I had that up. This is Dolores. Okay, so she has played a major role in Richard's case, and she has been in El Paso for a long time. She's the one that communicated with Captain David Park, and he convinced him, by her reaching out, he sent us that letter. And it was up to no good. I mean, he was up to no good, but it revealed a lot. It revealed a lot. So I'm very grateful for her for that. Also, she did think things through because of her history and her experience, her leadership, her fearlessness. She's fearless, and she took a lot of hits, and was smeared, continuously smeared, and yet she kept helping. And so this canine that was supposedly looked for Richard's remains, she said, how can that be? There's very few human remains sniffing dogs in El Paso. Where did they get this dog? Can you ask them? And I did, and they couldn't tell us. And so to make a long story short, it revealed that they probably just hoodwinked us. That was probably a training video, and they just lied to us about a canine and a handler looking for the remains of Richard. So I was very grateful for that. Also, she reported to the FBI that a witness who keeps with his story uh, friend was paid to dump Richard's body, to get rid of Richard's body. And that body was dumped around kilometer 30, like that map that I was showing you. And it's very interesting. So I'm very grateful um, that she has stuck with this and helped us. We taught we It's because of her we know about Bortac and Borstar and several other things. So I know she was running for city council. Yeah. And the reason why we begged for a cadaver dog is because a cadaver dog can smell um, remains of a body that might be 20 years old, maybe older than that. They're amazing. And so it's not too late right now at 933 days to get a cadaver dog. And so that would be really helpful for you to share that information, and we could get a cadaver dog there. And this is just, this was another lead we said we need dogs. We need dogs. We here the reward was only 50,000. Now it's up to $150,000 that leads to finding Richard. So here I had to wear a shield because Facebook prevented me because I was at January 6th. Okay. I went to January 6th. We left earlier. And, we were nowhere near the Capitol when all of that mess happened. But January 6th, because they knew that we were there, I didn't tell. Well, we told the command, and Lieutenant General Donna Martin had contacted us the day before, and said, don't go, don't go. They knew what was going to go on. It's just, they are so up to no good. They're such criminals. And, but had this need to help us, I think. And they're in between a rock and a hard place because of these criminal four-star demons. So even a 3-star is afraid of retaliation, you see. But here I am giving a live stream because, which is really interesting, I wasn't allowed to live stream for 30 days. And I was like, what? 30 days when it comes to trying to find my son? How am I going to do that? This is my only recourse. Nobody wants to help that has any kind of connection to law enforcement, any kind of power. Even our William Timmons, our representative, he's up to no good. Just bad. Senator Lindsey Graham, he loves to send all of our volunteer sons and daughters, most valuable assets, to go get killed and maimed and whatever. But when you need him to help find a missing soldier, the very first CONUS Dust One missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart, he just flicks you off. Boom, you're nothing. You're nothing. We are not even going to answer your phone call. Can you believe it? So this was my only recourse. And I was laying in bed. I was just praying. And God told me, Pat, it's probably facial recognition. And I said, oh, the military gave me one of these shields. Ooh, I was mad. I was mad. I want to listen to that again. Yeah, so here I am. I thought, okay, I'm going to take that shield that the military gave me to wear to the meetings, and I'm just going to Find Richard Halliday over the top, and I'll try it. And guess what? It worked, y'all. It worked. It is facial recognition. And what that screen does, see, this is how God uses bad demons to help you, because I didn't buy that. I didn't buy that. I want to know. See, and I'm mad because they're not helping us. And here I am having to spit against this plastic, because when I'm talking, you can see the moisture go against the plastic. Yeah, so here I am. That's what I had to do that for 30 days in order to do my live streams. Here I'm much nicer the other day. Oh man. Dogs are able to pick up a scent within minutes of the death or years later. In some studies, they have found 25-year-old skeleton remains buried in areas of 300 by 150 feet, and the dogs are able to find that. And so we're like, we want to search red sands. We want, and I'm just, so you can see 933 days of just, this is when we were um, in El Paso. You can see it all. And so here I am again. That's before I put the fine Richard Halliday over it. So we're not going to let this go. We have everything. We just need to keep Richard's case out there. Share it, share it, share it. And thank you, everybody. And we're going to save our service members. We're going to help our service members. We're going to help our country. We're going to help other countries. This is such a big case. This is so huge because it's about the border. It's about the negligence, the dereliction, the treasonous actions of our DOD, of our government, the Department of Justice, the FBI, the Department of State, all of those that have not helped us find our son, that absolutely can find our son, that we have given them plenty of leads. We have everything they need to have already given us answers, and they haven't. And so this was censorship. This was this was all deliberate. When you have a staged task force find Richard Halliday, no op board, no uniforms worn, just like a picnic, no task force leader appointed. These are traitors. These are people we have prayed for, we have given everything to, and they have betrayed us. And it's killing our country. It's killing our service members. It is like a death sentence. They are conducting a death sentence by 1,000 cuts on our country, on our people, on our land, on our animals, on other countries. It's very, very serious. And because it has to do with the border, because it has to do with January 6th, because it has to do with our elections, because it has to do with child sex trafficking, porn cult, all of that, this is so big. It's so big. So please share. And and it's dangerous. They've put us in danger on top of that. So thank you so much, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. If you have any information, here's the number, 941-677-0060, and it's $150,000 for information that leads to funding Richard. And why not try, right? Why we have the cashier, she's way up there. We have several more that have given us very, very important information, and we won't forget you, because you were there for us when our agencies and our DOD and our military and even Richard's unit wasn't. So we're very grateful. God bless you.